Is anyone talking? Because I can't hear them.
Sorry. We're going to call the Executive Committee meeting of Tuesday, July 15th, 2025 to order. Roll call
Gary Mertig,
here.
Pat Kinney,
Here.
Bill Metzinger,
Here.
Martin Vitek,
Here.
and Brad Ray is excused.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Marty Vitek, I'll make the motion.
This is Bill Metzinger. I'll second it.
So motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments. Anyone online for public comments?
Louis Valens.
Okay. Louis?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I am Louis Valens. I'm a private citizen from Sheboygan, Michigan, and I'm approaching you today for support for bringing the Amtrak service to northern Wisconsin through the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. The northern Wisconsin, as well as Upper Peninsula, Michigan, do not have access to the National Transportation Network. So that's why I'm asking for either a letter of support or a resolution from Ashland County to support bringing Amtrak service to northern Wisconsin. Your line would be served from Escanaba to Duluth, Minnesota. It would be the extension of the Hiawatha train out of Milwaukee. It would get you into Chicago for 9:30 in the morning. It would arrive back into Ashland, Wisconsin, probably about 8, 9 o'clock at night. So my view is California is losing $4 billion of money from that train to nowhere. So I'm approaching your senators, Ron Johnson, as well as my senators, Gary Peters and Alyssa Slotkin, who plus my House Rep Jack Bergman, and wide to get the federal funding. So it would be a match of federal and state funds to bring Amtrak up into the UP of Michigan and into the northern Wisconsin. It would bring economic development, access to quality health care, access to educational opportunities, employment opportunities, and bring economic development to your area. So what I'm asking for is a letter of support or a formal resolution, which I did ship to your county from Chippewa County, Michigan. So you can use that as a template if you so desire. That'd be greatly appreciated. Do you have any questions?
No, Louis. Can you send a copy of your request to Dan Grady, our county administrator?
Yes, I will.
Okay, and then once we have that, we can look at it and see where we put it on the, a discussion item.
Okay, yeah, I did. Like I said, I also shipped over to you, I think via text or email, the Chippewa County, Michigan resolution, which would be true and germane to Ashland County.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. I will ship that off to them. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Good, thank you. Anyone else online for public comment? Anyone else online for public comment? Anyone in the audience for public comment this time? No one in the room? Okay. Then we would go to the discussion action items. Item A, approval of executive committee meeting minutes of May 15th, 2025. Mr. Metzinger.
I move for approval.
Mr. Metzinger makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
This is Pat, I'll second.
Pat seconds it. Any questions, changes, or corrections? Motion to approve. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Finance supervisor position update.
Okay, Finance Committee looked at it at their last meeting and approved the job description, and we have the job posted on all the major posting sites. So we'll give it a few weeks and then start looking at applications. We did post it until the position is filled, so there's no close date.
So as we've been looking at positions with the county, last year we hired a deputy, now we've got several requests this year, including that one. For the next finance meeting, could you, in your updates, include, from a budget perspective, the impacts of the hire last year, the hires being considered this year? Because in some cases, they're being offset by various things. So we have a better understanding of that. So as we look at the overall budget and the general levy in general, we have a better understanding of how these fit in. Just in your updates would be enough information.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that update? Otherwise, we go to C, approve highway mechanic position.
Again, this committee asked Finance to look at it, and they approved the position and sent it back here.
And I know highway talked about it yesterday. Bill?
This is Bill. So far, we've had 3 applications, and one of them looks very promising, and another one could work out, and one wasn't too qualified. So they were happy that they got some.
So we do need this committee to officially approve the position. Finance told Matt he could go ahead and start posting for it, but this committee still needed to approve it.
Pat?
So in that finance meeting, question that was asked was for the plow truck that they've already ordered, could they cancel that order and build themselves? My understanding is it's too late to cancel that order. So this position was proposed to build plow trucks, but we're going to be roughly a year out. How long before?
No, they canceled that order and they are building the one that they were going to send out.
They were able to cancel it.
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood that.
So yeah, they're ordering all the parts for it right now,
Okay.
and we'll be building that plow truck as soon as all the parts come in.
Okay, so you have applicants, and based on what you said, Bill, am I correct that Highway would like to do interviews
Yes.
with the pool of applicants you have?
Yes.
So we sent this back to Finance. I had some questions. We've gone through that, so I'll make a motion to approve the position.
Okay. Pat makes a motion. Bill?
Bill Metzinger, I will second that motion.
Bill seconds it. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Health and Human Services Department position request.
Well, we have the department head here right now, so I'll let her talk.
Thank you. So this position, I did put a pretty comprehensive explanation in your packet, but this position would be a mid-level management position. The program that it would be in is the Children's Long-Term Support Program, which is an unofficial entitlement. So whenever children are eligible, we have to enroll them. So that increases our caseload. It increases the number of case managers that we have to manage what the program is. It's a very, very comprehensive program. It has grown and continues to grow, and it's gotten to the point where we need someone else to be making these decisions because Tasha is already supervising many, many other units and many other programs, and this one really needs somebody who can really just focus on this program. If we don't get children enrolled within 45 days from the time they're eligible, there are sanctions that the state puts upon us financially. So there are some repercussions if we don't do this. This position would also carry a small caseload. It is a sum sufficient program. So between the case management rates that we would get for this person to have a small caseload and then the administrative position piece of this, we would capture that through Medicaid reconciliation. So it's not a cost to the county, but it is a necessary position just to kind of keep up with the demand and ensure that we don't get any sanctions or any bad findings when they do their audit.
Is this position 100% funded?
Yes.
What are you doing now without that position?
Tasha has been handling that along with the Aging and Disability Resource Center, the mental health components, the substance use disorder programs that we have, adult protection. It's just many, many hats to wear. Her one position alone for managing the regional 5-county ADRC is a half-time position in and of itself. So she has like 50% of her time that has to be devoted to that per the state contract. The other half is split between all the other programs we just discussed, and it's just, it's too onerous for one person to do. So again, this would be fully funded, and it would relieve some of the work that this position has had to have it for.
Pat?
I don't question you can use the help. But obviously I'm going to look at it from a finance perspective, which is why I'm on this committee. I read everything in the packet on this. When I read that, I didn't interpret it as fully funded. So could you explain what I might be missing on how you say it's fully funding versus perhaps what I misunderstood in the packet?
So the case management piece of this, which we anticipate they would have about 10 youth on their caseload, that is, our agency is actually a provider for the Children's Long-Term Support Program. So when we're doing work that is specific to case management, we bill the third-party administration for that through the state, and we get immediate funding for that. The administrative piece of that is allowable under Medicaid, but it is not a billable service, so we have to capture that at the end of the year through what we call our WMCR procedure. So it's the Wisconsin Medicaid cost reconciliation program. So what they do is they look at all of our costs. It goes through the PCG. I don't remember who does it. It goes through somebody the state contracts with, and then they make us whole. But there is a lag time for that, but we do capture all our costs.
Okay.
So this is just a Medicaid program. It doesn't, you have to have Medicaid to be enrolled in this.
So another question I had is when I look at the job position description, it says direct reports, none. And yet as I look further down in stuff like under supervision 8, it says in complete employee performance reviews. So if there's no direct reports and they're doing supervision related work, including employee performance, those two questions tied with how do you determine what step they're on, given their duties and responsibilities? How is that determined?
You mean for the wage scale?
Yeah, but if there's no direct reports, I don't understand under supervision parts,
So this position is going to be a lot of supervision, because what happens is first the person has to be found financially and functionally eligible. This position would do that. And then as needs are determined for youth, so we'll get recommendations from physical therapists, occupational therapists, doctors on what items they need to help whatever disability this youth has. Those requests come to the case manager, and this position would be reviewing those and authorizing those to determine whether they're appropriate or not. So that's going to be the biggest function of this, is that oversight piece of the program itself. Tasha would still be doing the overall employee performance with input from this supervisor, but this is a mid-level, so it's not a standalone supervisor position. It's just for this program and mostly for the case management piece of that. Did I answer that?
So if there's no direct reports, and yet I'm looking at 8 here on supervision, complete employee performance reviews. That to me sounds like direct reports, but I'm also, a question more for the administrator would be, just in terms of where we fall on the scale. If there are no direct reports and yet it says that they're going to do performance reviews, just
It would be-
understanding where they fall on the
That would
scale.
be input to Tasha. She would actually do the evaluation of the staff with input from this person who's got more complete oversight of how that person's doing, how they did throughout the year. So they would have input, but Tasha would still be doing the evaluations. And how we determined it is, when we did the wage scale, there's a social worker 3 position that this falls under. It's in alignment with what a social worker 3 would be.
All right. So then one more question for the moment. If this position is filled, I think the answer is Tasha, but whose plate does this work and responsibilities come off of? And does that person or persons then, based on what they then would be doing going forward with this coming off their plate, are they still slotted appropriately where they should be on the wage scale?
Yes, it would be Tasha's, and how I just explained, she's overwhelmed by the amount of supervising all the programs she has right now.
Mm.
Again, 50% of her time has to be devoted to managing the 5-county regional ADRC. And that was never until we had issues finding a qualified candidate that is for that position. Otherwise, it used to be a standalone position. Ashland County several years ago decided that we would do this. And then these programs became more onerous, more time. I mean, it's a very time intensive program, the Children's Long-Term Support Program is. And it's too much for one supervisor.
Yeah, I mean, having taught for a living, I hats off to those who can do this, so, yeah. Okay.
And you did say that the children or those youth that are in the program are all already or could be on Medicaid.
To be financially eligible, you have to be on Medicaid.
Okay, good, thank you. Bill?
Has this been brought up to your Health and Human Services Committee?
Yes,
And they were in favor of it?
yes. Yep.
Any other questions? Pat?
I gotta ask the administrator just to have him on the record. I assume you've looked at this,
Yes,
and given what was explained to us, there's a lag in receiving reimbursement, but otherwise this is budget neutral?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. It's a lot of her positions, there's a lag in getting payment. So they know how to budget for it.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve then.
And yes, I do support the position.
Okay. Pat makes a motion. Is there a second? Repeat that sentence. Any other questions?
Microphone, please.
Sorry. We'll learn eventually.
Lori, Marty VTech second.
Yes. So motion's been made and seconded to approve Health and Human Services Department position. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. Thank you. Employee handbook update.
Okay, so We brought this here a couple meetings ago and
Gotta tell you what, that handbook, it's been like, the last 10 years, it's all you fucking hear about, it's a handbook.
what?
Alright.
Someone needs to use a microphone.
Yeah, that was coming from someone online. Okay, so, employee handbook update?
All right, so we had brought this over from last meeting or the meeting before, and a bunch of changes were asked for, so between the clerk's office and I went through it and we made some changes to try to hopefully simplify everything to make it less complicated for people to understand, and make it much easier for payroll. So get rid of this. So I'll bring up the sections. Okay, so vacation leave is where the first big change is. And that's on page 11 of the document. Or if you look up in the corner here, it's page 11. So we got rid of the second paragraph, second sentence, largely because it just made it confusing. The county board a while ago had decided to award 2 weeks of vacation upon hire. So you weren't really accruing it your first year, you were getting 2 weeks of vacation. Again, we struck out this sentence because new hires didn't accrue it, they were just getting the 2 weeks right away. So that so we took that out to make it, again, more understandable. And then again, with that other line, accrued line, we figured this way, just keep referring back to the table and that's, you know what you get. So let's see. Where is, so, this is just clarifying that any county employee who's elected to office or appointed to office. So a good example is Lexi Pierce was appointed to be clerk of courts, which is an elected position. She got paid out her vacation because she's no longer under the Ashland County handbook. She's a constitutional officer.
Wait a second, you just said she got paid,
Yeah,
but this says you won't get paid.
that's the change.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, let's see.
They get the sick leave paid out, but not unused vacation or prorated vacation at the
Would-
time they take office.
Would that elected official be able to use that vacation?
Well, once they're an elected official, they can take whatever time they want.
Correct. Okay,
So-
they never have to show up to office.
Exactly.
Right, so it doesn't really matter at that point.
Thank you. I don't think they'd be elected for long.
So what you're saying that if the elected officials had previously accumulated vacation and they didn't use it, they're not entitled to it.
Well, they can take it anytime they want to once they're in elected office. There's no time limit on vacation.
They wouldn't get paid out,
Correct.
even though they had earned it.
Well, they would get paid for their vacation as an elected official. But if they'd ever become unelected and go back somehow into the system, would they then?
I think that's a situation we bring up to this committee to
Okay.
deal with.
Okay.
Because that would be so so rare that, but Yeah,
I guess the point I was trying to make is if they got 3-4 weeks vacation coming,
They could take it before they get office.
or they can take it while they're in office.
but they won't get paid out, is what I'm saying.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
Even though they have earned it.
well, they're still technically working for the county. They're just elected.
Yeah, but they hadn't started yet.
I mean, in all honesty, if I was running for an elected official and I was in the county system and I was so worried about it, I would just take my vacation the last month of work or something before I became into the elected office. So,
So that vacation is vested in some term.
Yeah, for an elected official? Yes.
Pat?
There is language that says you have to take the vacation in that calendar year. You can't carry it over without
Permission.
approval. So if you did get elected, it's always for more than a year. So, you know, it would lapse anyway, just by the time that has passed.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
There's,
there's one section I don't see it read it out here. But we removed the years of service. Like if you're gone from the county, you come back after 10 years, that you would get 10 years of service on here for as far as vacation. And, you know, Mr. Metzner, you brought up a good point the last meeting, that if you came back to work, you would, if we kept that rule, you would automatically get 28 days of vacation. So we removed that because that was language that was in there before the county board decided to give everyone 2 weeks at the beginning. Originally, it was 1 week. So we gave everybody 2 weeks, and now everybody just follows the same schedule.
So if Bill and I come back to work for the county, we get 2 weeks?
Yes.
I'm not coming back. Pat?
But that was also really confusing for payroll too.
But you wouldn't get the 28 days.
No, you would just get the 10 days.
we go back to page 10 there, the one that's numbered 10 on the bottom. Further down, I think. Okay, right there. So not in the red at the bottom, but the sentence before that. Unused accrued vacation time will be paid to an employee in case of retirement or resignation with proper notice. What that doesn't say is unless it's in your first year of employment. Because we're saying in the first year, if you leave, you have to pay back the vacation.
Okay.
So this sentence to me should, because it's at odds with that first year, or at least it doesn't clarify, it should, provided the employee has been with Ashland County a year or longer.
So, all right, so can you write that change down, please?
Otherwise, someone will be pointing at that.
So
No, no,
let's see.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you, because the goal here is to not having people point at these things
Yeah.
and then have, you know, like last week, Amber, Terry and I going back and forth, well, it means this or it means that, or the goal is to make it simple and clear so everybody understands it.
Sue's got a
Can I
question.
say something? Yeah, so that, what Dan just mentioned is something that we've struggled with because, and we talked about this at the last exec when we were talking about the handbook, that that first 10 days that an employee receives, is it accruing or is it a gift? And that's where we've had a lot of issue because with a terminating employee that we've been talking about the last week. So they used vacation and worked 6 months and because they considered it as accruing that vacation, he's not paying back the 40 hours that he used. He's only paying back 10 because he used 50. So you're really not paying back any vacation used in that first year if you're considering it being accrued. So.
Gary?
Go ahead, Pat.
You know, to me, when I look at this, the whole point of confusion has been the reference point that's been chosen. So we say at the end of year one, the end of year two, if we were say the beginning of the year, and then use 0 as the first point of reference at the beginning, but it sounds a little strange, but the beginning of year 0, 10 days vacation, beginning of your first full year, another whatever. But it's this beginning point. We choose not, we're saying after year 1, 2, 3, but then you're using the end of the year as a reference point versus the beginning. So we could say the beginning of year 0. Or you could say if we change it to beginning, we could say the beginning of year 1, the beginning of year 2. Instead of saying the end of year 1 and year 2, we could say the beginning of year 1, the beginning of year 2. And that way, the beginning of the year, you're new, you're starting, you get 10 days. Beginning of year 2, here's what you get.
And that's what the table is saying.
Well, but on completion, that's saying at the end of these timeframes. But that's why this first year seems confusing, is we're changing the point of reference, because when you start, it's the beginning of a year. This other is at end of years.
I always thought it was anniversary date. So when your anniversary date came about, let's say you started the 15th of January, then next year, 1 year is January 15th of the next year.
Right. And that's upon completion of the first year then.
Okay, so shouldn't we mention something about anniversary date, or is that mentioned someplace else, or? Because if you say upon, completion of a year, well, it's a year of service. It's not completion of, let's say if I started in July, at the end of the year, I'm completed that year, but it's not the anniversary.
Well, no, if you started in July upon completion of 1 year from July, right? Is how we're thinking it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be anniversary date.
Completion of 1 year.
Yes, I think it's okay the way it is now, but that point of confusion was different reference points, I think. And I think the way it is now with the changes, hopefully
So
should be clear.
what, thanks.
Go ahead.
What we really wanted to get out of there was that the 2 weeks that they get up front,
Yeah.
you're not accruing it. It's
Yeah.
a 2-week block at the beginning. And if you don't work your whole year, if you've used any of that time, you pay it back. I mean, it's got to be cut and dried that way. I mean, Karen, what do you?
Well, I
I
would say
agree.
that's not how the county board approved it when they did the 2 weeks. I mean, the motion was pretty clear. Everybody gets 2 weeks of vacation upon hire. There was nothing about paying it back if you don't serve a year. So, and I'm gonna be honest, I mean, going after 10 hours is kind of nitpicky and silly. It'll give us a bad reputation in the community. And, you always take a chance when you hire an employee where they're gonna stay 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. I would just say, like Mr. Kinney noted at the end of this, unused vacation time, and we should get rid of the word accrued in here too. That you get paid out unless it's in the first year, and that way you're making that distinction. Somebody who worked 6 months and took 50 hours of vacation, great, but they don't get that extra 30. So
Yeah.
How often do people stay under a year?
well, Terry, in most departments, but it's most of our departments are fairly stable. We have some problems. Some offices have been having longevity problems. But they are hard work. The DA's office has had a hard time keeping people. But it's a stressful job. And they have had people just move out of the state randomly. But I would say we keep 95% of our work or more at least a year.
So if they can't take vacation in the first 90 days, we're already a fourth of the way through the year.
Correct.
But if people need to move or something, they might need to find a way to get some time off just to move and resettled and all
Yep.
that too, so. I mean, if we took out repaying it, it's not a big problem because it doesn't happen that often.
Mm-mm.
And they're gonna be here 90 days or longer anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
and the supervisor has to approve the leave anyway,
Right.
and so.
Bill?
I think when an employee is hired, they need to know what's going on, and if they're not made aware, right now, if they leave within 3 or 4 months, if they're not made aware that they have to pay this time back, then it's a whole different story as far as I'm concerned. If you're just saying you're given 2 weeks as far as being hired, you can take it anytime after 90 days, but if you leave earlier than a year, you have to pay it back. But there should be something that if that's the case, there should be something that they are made aware that they have to pay it back.
Well, I think I'm arguing for saying that we don't make them pay it back. We just say that they don't get paid out any unused vacation if they're here less than a year. I mean, it's just a nightmare accounting wise too. It takes up the amount of time it takes up to deal with it is not worth the amount of money we're recouping.
I
And-
mean, we just need to have it in black and white. Whatever the committee decides is what we go with. But we just need to all be on the same page. Somebody interprets the handbook one way and we think it's another way. So that's what we're looking for on this, especially as clarification of what do we do moving forward with it.
Yes.
I just agree with everything being said, but I think if you even put in that it's prorated, you may end up with employees who wait until very end of their first year to take that. And then it could be a scheduling thing too. So it just makes more sense that you allow staff to take it when they need it throughout that first year. The other piece, like Dan was saying, that the intensity to recoup it, I mean, in some cases, you'd be looking at having to go to like a collections agency, which is going to cost you a lot of money. They'll take a percentage of whatever. So, I mean, it could be a very complicated procedure if they didn't have enough money in their last 2 weeks to recoup that. It's going to be an accounting nightmare. So as a department head of one of the biggest departments, I would be an advocate for just saying, like Dan said, you don't get paid out, but what you've used has been approved by your supervisor and just let it be. Thank you.
Pat?
So if we made the distinction between the first year versus the rest of the years, what's the rationale for drawing the line at your first year versus say drawing line 2 or 3, et cetera? Is it like, oh, okay, I'll stay here because otherwise I gotta pay back vacation? What's magic about year 1 versus 2? Is there any evidence to support drawing the line at year 1 versus 2, 3, or later? And do we have any evidence that this actually in any way helps Ashland County by saying if you leave in the first year, you have to repay it? It feels like a gut level reaction to things.
I
with
think
no
that
evidence.
I think the difference is you're accruing it the first year. So that's how it always was before. So for many, many years, you had to wait 1 full year before you got 1 week of vacation. So you didn't use it the first year at all. You were not eligible for that at all, but you were accruing for when you hit your anniversary date. And so you're still accruing in the first year, the way this is set up, with the addition of you're given 2 weeks on your start date. Does that make sense?
And so that's why you shouldn't get paid out at the end of the year, because as Sue has been saying, it's essentially a gift the first year. And the second, every year after that, you're accruing it. So you did actually earn it.
Pat?
So what if we said in the first 6 months, 5 days, the next 6 months, another 5 days, kind of split the risk here? So you know, if they leave under 6 months, you're out, the county's out at most 5 days, but Sue, that's a nightmare, it sounds like.
Yeah,
I mean, don't make it so complicated.
it's a
really.
nightmare for
I mean,
payroll, yeah.
I'll say this, I deal with another organization where we have a $6,000 penalty if you leave early on a contract. And we've just waived it twice because it wasn't worth the hassle of trying to recoup the $6,000 because ultimately they weren't going to have enough in their last paycheck to pay that. And like you said, to go back and try and get it, it's meant as a deterrence to not leave early. But if it isn't affecting a ton of people, I don't see why we're having a problem.
So just to make us wrestle with this and decide, I'll make a motion that we remove the language saying that the unused vacation or the, any vacation taken in the first year has to be repaid.
That's already taken out in here, I believe.
But that's what we're talking about. So,
Right. That we're
so
talking,
the unused, they don't get paid for, but I'm saying any vacation they've used, they don't have to repay if they leave in the first year.
right,
That's what
right.
that's what the motion is, that if
But they don't get paid out in the first year either.
they won't get paid out for any unused vacation, but any vacation they did take, they would not have to repay. That seems to be what we're
Yep.
debating.
Yeah.
And, oh.
Marty Vitek, I'll second that.
Sue, comment?
So the way it's written in here, I don't think that we need to make that notation because of the way it's presented here. It doesn't say anything about repaying, correct, in the way that we've made that change.
Okay, so the motion,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was in there.
Yeah, it's right here.
Which page are you on?
Page 10.
Yeah.
It's right here in,
Is it the however
Yeah.
should an
yeah, the
employee
however
terminate?
statement.
That one?
Yeah.
So do you just want to strike that whole sentence?
That would be essentially the motion, if I'm remembering things right from reading this
Yeah.
last night, to strike that sentence, new employees, or however, should an employee terminate prior to completing 1 year of employment, the employee must repay Ashland County for any vacation used. It would be striking that sentence. I think we're okay with the rest of it, but
Right.
okay,
and then-
so Pat's making the motion. Marty, are you still seconding it?
Yep, I'll second it.
Marty seconds it.
Can I ask a question before you guys vote? Pat, does your motion also include adding, except for the first year of employment to the sentence?
that was a separate change
Okay,
that we seem to have agreed to, but we didn't have a motion on it, but let me, if I can, I'll amend the motion to include the last sentence in black on page 10, after with proper notice, unless an employee is in their first year of employment. Right behind you on the bottom of page 10, the last sentence in black, ending with proper notice, and then comma, unless the employee is in their first year of employment. So we're just not going to pay them out if they haven't used the vacation.
Yeah.
But the astute employee will say, well, let me take all my vacation, then I'll leave.
Okay, so Pat's amended his motion. Marty is still seconding the amendment. Any other questions? Bill?
What is the motion?
Okay,
So the motion is, if you look up there, Bill, Dan, could you go back down a little bit? So in the, no,
no, right there.
right there. So the however, the sentence in however, putting in purple, striking that, which means if they're in their first year and have taken vacation, that they do not have to repay that. So we're striking that. Meaning if they took vacation during the first year, they don't have to repay it. And then down at the bottom, the last sentence in black, after with proper notice, a comma, unless an employee is in their first year of employment. That way, if they've been here less than a year and they have vacation left, they don't get paid out for that vacation.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Motion's been made and seconded to make those changes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'm gonna take a little leeway here. And you can holler at me after a bit, but I just want to clarify something as long as the clerk's office is here and Dan is here, so we straighten this thing out. In the county board handbook, it clearly states that a county board chair attending a meeting that lacks a quorum is an acting member of that committee and can vote. We've had an instance in the past at forestry where we weren't sure. We have an instance maybe coming up this week at finance, where we may not have a quorum of that committee. I'm not a member of the committee, but as chair attending, I can vote.
You're a member of all committees.
Right. If there's a quorum, the county board chair doesn't vote, but just so that we have, as long as the clerk's office and Dan and us agree that that's, because that's gonna happen this week, we believe, so.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. The reason why it's coming up is Ron Stendor's in Costa Rica, and Brad Ray is going to be out on the boat all week. While the weather is permitting, they're doing their fishery stuff. Yeah, we'll take,
Right. And you would be okay, but in case something else happens, and I'd be here too.
Yeah, it was
In
my,
that-
it was my understanding that that's how it works. I don't
Right.
question that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just that it came up a few months ago at forestry and now it could come up this week, so we want to be sure everybody's okay with it. Okay. Ryan Tim resolution.
Well, there's few more on
Sorry.
this. The rest of them are somewhat minor.
Okay,
So, one is, so making the distinction of, we make a distinction in the handbook for employees pre-Act 10 and post-Act 10. So it's just moving, the first part is just moving the January 1st date. And saying this sick leave bank is striking the FIFO use of sick leave bank. Then this is just clarifying sick leave donation. In order to donate sick leave to an active employee, because we have situations where employees are leaving and they want to donate to sick leave, we're saying you can't do that. And it has to be approved by both the administrator and the board chair. So,
Could you run by that again, please?
yeah. Hold on a minute. I'm not sure why we struck out this. Employees that have resigned or are terminated cannot donate any sick leave to active employees. So we're saying if you quit, you can't donate your sick leave. Any request to transfer sick leave to an active employee. So that would be, say, Sue donating to Karen. That would have to be approved by Chairman Mertig and myself before we'd allow that. And it only could be done amongst active employees. And again, the reason is because we had employees that were leaving that were trying to donate their sick leave to active employees. When somebody resigns, they lose their sick leave bank. You don't get paid out for that. Only upon retirement do you.
and obviously a person who's an active employee, we would have to have an employee who needed that sick leave, not just,
Right.
hey, I'm gonna give it to Sue and Sue's never sick.
Right.
I mean,
No, and obviously it would be situational dependent. Obviously, like somebody who's undergoing chemo and needed time off, we would approve
because I had
that.
9 months that before I left, I could have done that if
Yeah.
that was allowed. So as long as it means somebody who's actively ill or sick and needs it,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Just minor stuff. Forms are available at the clerk's office. Unpaid is not, and this conforms with federal and state law. Both federal and state laws say to take leave actually, no, that's a county. I'm thinking of FMLA. We're saying that you can't take unpaid leave until you exhaust all your other leave. Um, uh, Get them at the comp time because we don't do that anymore. We raised the per diems for going out because we did that in the supervisor's handbook too. Um, yeah,
Pat,
So in the highway department, the first bullet with coveralls to all personnel working in the shop, and my question is this. Operators often spend some time in the shop doing some maintenance work.
Mhm.
They're not full-time in the shop.
it would cover operators and shop and mechanics.
So the operators are also issued coveralls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they need them when they're actually out on the roads. Like if they're doing patch sealing, they need overalls for that.
So then why do we have in the shop there separating? If they all need them, why are we saying in the shop?
Um, I think it's just implied. I mean, we can change that word if you want to.
I mean, patch sealing is like one of the last jobs in the world I would
Well-
want. But obviously you want coveralls or, appropriate clothing and they get damaged. If they're all being issued coveralls and replaced as needed, why do we say in the shop?
we might want to ask Matt about that, but my assumption was anybody working in a shop got new coveralls. The department is reimbursing work clothes up to $500 for everyone outside the shop. I'm assuming if they come in from operator, like a truck driver, into the shop, then we'd have to give them overalls. I don't think we're giving overalls, I don't believe, to the guys out on the trucks, but because they're getting up to $500 to purchase their work clothing. But if you were a snowplow driver and we needed you in the shop, I would assume we'd have to give you coveralls.
Right, and they need coveralls too sometimes when they're doing road work.
Could be.
So it sounds like everybody at some point is gonna be in the shop doing maintenance and coveralls are appropriate.
Right.
And so I'm not sure we're in so we got $500 in the clothing allowance. So if you're full-time in the shop, you get $500 and the coveralls. But for the guys that are operators that are in the shop part of the time, but the coveralls are still pretty nice sometimes when you're out on the
Especially in the
road.
winter too.
So if you're trying to draw that line of distinction of who gets coveralls and who doesn't, well, everybody sooner or later seems to spend time in the shop. So they get 500 and the coveralls? Or should the coveralls come out of it? Because if you're in the shop full-time, wouldn't you use part of your 500 on coveralls? Because that's what you need versus maybe something different clothing that the operators.
Well, some of those shop guys are outside too. So that $500 is covering work clothing. It could be a shirt, could be
Well,
boots.
yeah.
Well, the boots are covered. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like they all have to wear steel-toed boots,
right.
you know.
I mean, how much are the coveralls? Do you know?
No.
Why don't you just buy everybody a pair of coveralls?
Well,
I mean, if they're in and out of the shop and just everybody gets a pair of coveralls.
so that's what I'm trying to, I mean, to me, $500, I go through a fair bit of clothes than what I do outside of things, and I know they get damaged. I can ruin them as fast as anybody. So I can, I can understand the $500 going, especially if you buy good clothes, which makes sense.
Well, then just,
To me, it seems like everybody's going to be in the shop sooner or later. So if you say in the shop, it seems like if we said $500 and then coveralls furnished and replaced as needed.
or just in that first sentence, just get rid of the shop.
Get rid of the
That's all
shop.
personnel working.
And
Period,
just get rid of in the shop,
the
then
shop.
nobody has to decide.
right.
Because, when we're all gone and there's a new highway commissioner and somebody looks back at this and says, well, what does that mean? Or how do you decide? If we just get rid of in the shop, so all personnel will be issued coveralls as needed and replaced as needed.
A set of coveralls is gonna wear out a lot quicker crawling around under that equipment and stuff, as opposed to being an operator.
Yeah.
So I think as they wear out, they just
Yeah.
replace them, you know, so.
But if they're in the shop full time, they don't need the outside clothes.
Well, they just,
Or either that, or why the heck don't you just raise it to $600 then?
no, what the thing is,
Cut
the thing is,
everything out.
our shop personnel are outside a lot on equipment too. Yeah. I would just get rid of in the shop.
That's what I would suggest.
Is that, go ahead, Pat.
This is Pat. I'll make a motion in the first bullet for the highway department. First sentence, we remove working in the shop.
Well, as long as the understanding is we're talking about highway department employees, I don't know that the office staff needs coveralls.
No, Marcy doesn't need coveralls.
I mean, they're not gonna. Well, operators and mechanics
Yeah.
Yeah,
and now the part-time employee. So all personnel other than office personnel.
yeah. I would say the same thing for the work clothing.
Bill, you're highway chair. What word should we use?
So the way it's written now, you could get the $500 clothing allowance, plus then you get $100 for overalls.
Well, we don't know what the cost is.
They just give
Well,
you
let's
those.
just say,
That's purchased by the county when it coveralls would be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bill, it just says to replace the coveralls, doesn't say anything about dollars, so I think that if Matt made arrangement for somebody to supply coveralls as they wear out, he just exchange them out.
are we okay with that?
what are we doing?
That we will furnish coveralls to all county highway employees? except-
Excluding office. You should probably have
Excluding
excluding office.
Right.
If they need them.
the office staff doesn't need them. They're
Pardon
not.
me?
The office staff doesn't need them.
Well, what happens if you have a good pair of coveralls, you're good, you know, shouldn't it be something that if you need them? Just you're kind of giving it vague, everybody should get a new pair of coveralls, okay?
Well, we gotta turn in, if
If
I think you get everyone new ones. And those that had them, if they'd had them, turn them in. And then in the future, they have to turn the old ones in to get the new ones. So are we okay with that?
You know, with a new mechanic being hired, part of the argument for that is the operators spend less time in the shop. So when the operators are not in the shop, how often do they need coveralls? And would it be reasonable to ask them to buy their own coveralls out of the $500?
Pat, they just won't wear out as fast, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Because they're still gonna need coveralls when they're out working on the roads.
So why doesn't that come out of their $500? Why
Well,
why
we're
are we
talking
just,
shoes, we're talking shirts, potentially jackets. Pair of shoes will cost you,
$100
hard told,
$200 easy.
$200.
why are we separating out coveralls, period, versus the $500?
I'm not sure how, I've never asked highway how they do it, but I know the other municipalities, coveralls are actually a rented item. They have a company like one of, forget. Yeah, they're a rented item. You rent 6 of them and then they come around every couple of weeks and give you clean ones. And they do that because, like cities do that all the time for their public works crews because they're digging in the ground all the time and they get dirty and mucky. So that's why they're separated. And with the mechanics, they get all greasy and icky. But it's the same gonna happen to them when they're patch sealing and crack sealing. They're gonna get tar all over them.
So are we okay with putting a period after all personnel except in the office? Excluding the office? Bill?
I'm just thinking. So you have to turn your old coveralls in before you get new.
Right.
I could live with that.
Okay. Do we want to move
Marty,
on?
what do you think? You're on the highway department.
What's that?
You're on the highway department. What do you think?
About what are we talking about now?
The coveralls.
No, I just said that, we just keep a supply of coveralls and have them change them out as they need them, that's all. Or else get one of those uniform services that comes through and they just provide keep clean coveralls for all of the, whatever's the most cost effective.
Okay, so we agree on that and we'll just move on to whatever else needs to be looked at.
Okay.
But is this coming before the county board on next Tuesday?
Yes.
There's amendment to the handbook,
I'm sorry.
these amendments to the handbook?
Yes, it'll be the whole handbook with the changes in red. So this is just restating the statutory obligation of the clerk to be the custodian of all personnel files. That is one of her constitutional duties.
Okay.
All right, so family medical leave. Just saying the 12 weeks you get off for FMLA starts with the very first day taken off. And then your 12 weeks starts ticking.
Does that 12 weeks, if there are holidays in there, is this 12 weeks on the calendar, start to finish, as in, 12 weeks, 7 days a week, 84 days, or are we talking what happens if there's holidays?
Well, it kind of just is whether or not they're getting paid. Because they use sick leave and vacation. Oh, so you're saying of the 12 weeks, if there's 3 holidays in there, we would extend the 12 weeks for 3 days because of that. Typically, we've just done 12 weeks from the first time they take off for 12 weeks, regardless if there's a holiday in there or not.
So federal and state law, that 12 weeks, do they have a definition of, are we talking, 12 weeks, 7 days a week, 84 days later?
We're counting at 12 weeks, 7 days a week, not business days.
So should we put in there a sentence or clarification that 12 weeks, parentheses, 84 days, regardless of any holidays, et cetera, so we don't have this question come up? So you don't have to wrestle with it later, or you or Heather, or
What do you think, Dan? What do you guys? Do you think that needs to be in there, or? I mean, the guidelines are 12 weeks.
Right.
Set by Fed and state, so.
It doesn't specify whether it should be working days or calendar.
Right,
days.
and I think it's probably 12 weeks, 7 days a week.
We could just say 12 calendar weeks. And there, just insert the word calendar after 12, and that covers it.
Bill?
So the way it stands. right now-
Microphone, please.
the way it stands right now, we'd have to use the vacation and sick leave first, and then we could go up to 12 weeks.
No,
The way it is now?
Yeah, what is it now?
no, you have to use have to use, under this federal law, you have to use your vacation, sick leave, and personal time during that 12 weeks before you're eligible to take unpaid leave during that 12 weeks. So the federal government says you have to use all your accrued time or all your time off before you're eligible to take unpaid time in that 12 weeks.
Is that in there any place where it specifies that they have to use that first?
Yeah, we said that earlier in our earlier sentence, paragraph under leave. Um, uh, where was it? There's an unpaid leave section here. Here. Unpaid leave is not allowed until all sick, vacation, and personal time is exhausted.
Yeah.
So where you just were there is part of why I asked that question, because if there are holidays while you're taking your sick leave and vacation days, that extends the window in which it takes to use up that. But we're still, the unpaid leave, you're saying 12 weeks from the first day that you're not at work.
Yes.
You're using sick leave, you're using vacation, you're using personal days, 12 weeks, 12 calendar weeks, 84 days, that whatever number of days turn out to be unpaid, that 12 weeks is up 84 days later on the calendar.
Correct. And and that's what conforms with federal law.
Okay.
Someone could take, I don't know, 24 weeks off if they had enough vacation and sick leave to spread it out. And I mean, the FMLA says 12 weeks, so
Well,
in a
look,
calendar year.
because, during the FMLA, a lot of people will take half pay, come in, and become part-time employees during that time period to extend the payments. Because most people don't have 12 weeks between vacation and sick. But there are a few pre-Act 10 people that may have that ability.
Bill?
What happens if you needed more time off than 12 weeks? Is there someplace you could, like the executive committee, come and say, okay, I'm not quite well after 12 weeks, but I really like my job and I really want to work for you. And it's unpaid anyway. Can it be like case by case? And can they appeal it to the executive committee or some committee?
That's a
and-
decision that the department head and I would make. And if if the department and I head and I said no, then it would be appealable to this committee.
Well, I think rather than go, we should have a uniform appeal process. We shouldn't go to each department head and have something different. I think we should bring it to the executive committee so that we're aware of it. And we should be more uniform then as far as what to do, because if the highway department did something and the social services did something, I think that after 12 weeks of time taken off as a leave, I think it should just go directly to the executive committee. And department head would be more than welcome to attend and give their recommendation, but
Well, I do believe the way we do it, as Dan described, that employee would go to their department head first, because the department's gonna have to decide, hey, can I do without this employee for additional weeks? And Dan and the department head make a decision. If they say yes, that's the department head's prerogative. But if they say no, then the employee could come to the executive committee. I think we gotta leave it in the department heads, because they're the ones who know if they can deal with that time off.
Right. And Bill, Wisconsin statutes give me the right to say yes or no.
okay, well, shouldn't that be spelled out though clear as far as what happens if after 12 weeks?
We're only required by law to do 12 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, the employee has to come back to work. Under federal law, they'd be deemed terminated if they didn't come back. So if we allow somebody to stay, then, that's us, the decision we're making. But the decision whether or not to allow them to come back lies with me in 59.18. Now, we have a grievance process set up where it comes to this committee if there's an adverse decision.
But there is a grievance procedure.
So, and the way we have it, I think is fine. And I'm not gonna say no if the department head really wants to keep the employee. If the department head says, no, I don't want this employee anymore, then 99 times out of 100, I'm gonna agree with them.
Pat?
Well, I agree with what the chair said. There's a process, and the department head and the administrator review the situation, lets them decide if they can get by or not. If it's an office with 1 or 2 or 3 people and there's seemingly no end in sight, and you've got other people saying, look, I'm working way more hours and I can't keep doing this, they've got to be able to make that decision. And so if it's a no and the employee wants to appeal, they still have that right to appeal. But the other thing perhaps to bear in mind is if the department head and the administrator handle this and the answer is a yes, then whatever that situation is in terms of employee privacy with what's going on in their life, then it keeps it to a smaller group of people that are aware. There's, if I really don't need to know what's going on and having to decide, that it keeps, something more private than otherwise, if they get a yes and choose not to appeal.
Okay.
So this is just clarifying the comp leave policy. Again, same thing here. And here. And here. Okay, and that's it. So those are all the changes. So guess we'd like you guys to approve the handbook changes with the amendments made by the committee.
Pat? Bill?
I will make that motion that we approve the handbook changes and amended by the committee and bring it to the next county board meeting.
Motion made by Bill.
Marty Vitek, I'll second it.
Artie Vitek seconds it.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Metzer?
I asked that this be put on the agenda. We talked about it a year and a half ago, and it's just kind of been put in limbo. A young man that's paralyzed from an ATV accident had money collected and given to him. And what he did is he pushed to have a handicap ramp and stuff installed at Gordon Lake. And so he donated some of the money that he had collected. And to me, it made the Wisconsin County paper. And I think this individual, I don't know if he would like recognition. He's not asking for recognition, but I'm just wondering is if we got a person that done something really special, and I think in a way he should be recognized, and rather than have someone like that and just pass by, most people don't even know what happened and what he actually did. And I think that if we have some special people, which I'm sure we do in the county other than him, I think we should recognize him, and um, I think we should bring it up to the county board and officially recognize him. And I don't know what the committee thinks, but I don't know if it's going to be enough time in a week, but I would like to see if he would like to be recognized. If we say we're going to recognize you and he says, no, I don't want any publicity, then I wouldn't do it, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, and I think because Ryan was one of three that Uniquely Wisconsin recognized, if we do it for Ryan, we almost need to do it for the other two, one from Bad River and one from the Lake Shore.
Yeah, but you're not, to me, you're not like Bad River. You're not recognizing a person making pottery or whatever. To me, that's no reason to recognize you. This is something that is really unique and special. And I don't know what was the other one. One was a lady from the reservation making pottery.
She made basket weaving,
Yeah.
traditional Ojibwe basket weaving, which is important to the entire Ojibwe culture.
Yeah, but I don't think that that is something that, sure, it's unique that she does it, but I don't think that's something that should be recognized.
I think that if we're gonna recognize people for their accomplishments, we should do it individually on separate occasions.
Yeah, but as far as that, I don't think that that's a reason to recognize a person. If, what was the third one?
The fisheries.
Yeah, see, to me, this is something that it's, yes, they're all three are unique, but I'm saying this is a little bit different. This is something that, he wouldn't have had to do it, period. And I think the thing is to try to help somebody that's handicapped like himself. I think that's why this made, I would not be in favor of recognizing the people with the weaving and the other one. I would not.
I think you personally, you're making a big mistake because you're picking one out of the three. And each one has their own unique ideas. I've known Ryan and his father for years. I went to school with his father, and I agree. He's a great success for his community and the county. But I think if you separate this out, we are going to hear from some of the people that represent at least one of the other people. You could do three separate. That would do fine. I just think that if you recognize someone that was on that show along with the other two, you're gonna hear the comments.
Because the merits, by the sound of it, I don't.
Microphone, please.
The merits of each one are so different that they should be recognized separately anyway, so.
We'll wait till you come back.
And each specific.
Do you have any comments, Pat?
The whole process of giving people or organization recognition is always fraught with lots of questions and judgments, and it's not an easy thing to do. And some people and organizations aren't interested in it. To me, the three were selected all for good reasons. They all deserve recognition in some form for what they've done and contributed. And, one way of looking at this is maybe we should have a process where annually we do some recognition in the county and set up some criteria by which we choose to recognize people or organizations. And not just, yes, there's Uniquely Wisconsin here. They got chosen for good reasons. But I think each of them deserve recognition, not because they got chosen for Uniquely Wisconsin, but simply because of who they are and what they've done and what they've contributed to the community. I wouldn't use Uniquely Wisconsin as the filter on whether they get recognition or not. I think if we're going to recognize, we should set up some criteria and then cast a wider net than just those who were in Uniquely Wisconsin. And then do it annually or something.
Well, the point I was trying to make, I didn't want to discriminate against or downsize their accomplishments. But I thought this was like a step up. And if the committee feels that it's going to, that my truck.
Not mine.
Hold up progress.
There hasn't been any, Marty.
Oh.
This thing will hard on.
Is there another one? Okay.
It might be somebody else's.
No stuffy in here.
Sorry, Larry, there's a car beeping.
Oh, somebody from mine.
So I guess if the committee feels that way, maybe we should not do any.
It's a black truck across the street.
Oh, okay. So if, I don't know if it's our place to recognize anybody, no one's asked us to recognize them, you know.
Well, I point out that we as a county chose these 3 different videos. So if you want to, I mean, you can say we already recognized Ryan by choosing this video in the first place. No, we chose to make that video. We had our choices, whatever we wanted to make, and we chose Ryan, and we chose Ashley, and we chose the fisheries, because those are things that are unique to this area. So, I mean, the whole video episode itself is a recognition of him.
Thank you.
So I guess the thing is, the way I looked at it, we had talked about it before, but it just kind of got waylaid and just nothing ever became of it. And so maybe that's the way it should be so you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. And, but, and the thing is, I don't know if Ryan would like that publicity.
Well, could we direct Dan to maybe contact those folks and say, if the county board was going to recognize you, would you accept it? Maybe some of them won't. And then if somebody does, then we could figure it out.
Yeah, I think that sounds a lot better. But I guess the thing is with Ryan's case, he's disabled. He done something up and beyond, and he's not asking for recognition. That's what I'm saying. And I don't know if it's not appropriate to do it, then I have no problem. But I kind of just didn't want it to happen and then everybody just kind of pass it by. I'm sure that most of the people, if we bring it up at the county board meeting or something, who's, yeah. But what do you think as far as that, Pat?
There's merit in recognizing people and organizations, but again, not everybody, wants that either. But it seems like there's an opportunity to create a process to recognize people and organizations in Ashland County. And through that process of organization, help people to understand better what Ashland County has to offer, why you might want to live here or maybe stay here if you were thinking of leaving. And then to encourage people to, be stronger community members and contribute. Ashland has, I don't see the daily press very often anymore, but they still have a man of the year, I think. Don't ask me who it is, but it's recognition. A community comes together, and, they have an event and they have fun and could this be a process where we do some recognition and toot our own horn a bit about some of the people and organizations that we have? And I'm not sure if the chamber fits into this as part of, helping us to either recognize people in groups. And I don't know which committee maybe would wrestle with this question to start with either offhand, but I do like the idea of looking into doing more recognition. I think there'd be positives for us, because I mean, for me up here, you know, I've been through Glidden a few times, been mostly just through, but I've learned something about Glidden through this process too. And being from a rural area, I think it's really important to keep people in rural areas for lots of good reasons, and recognition for people that aren't from, you know, the city of Ashland per se helps us to understand what else is out there. And I think for a lot of reasons, that's a positive for us. So I'm not sure where to go with it, but I think we should do something with it.
Well, we could certainly ask the three people and recognize them for the fact that they were picked. And then when they were picked, if they want to come, we can talk about what they've accomplished. Because it's not just the beach in Ryan's case, he's worked on that beach project and the dock and the fishing pier, and she's done everything. Every year he's working on another access point. But then the other two, we could ask them if they come, and then we could get some background and tell the county board, here's what they're doing, you know, to help the economy in Bad River or elsewhere, helping the lake economy. So maybe we should see if Dan could ask those three, if the county board decided to recognize him, would they be willing to come? And then we could get a write-up.
You know, also, it might be a good idea if they had somebody that they would like to recognize, to contact us and see if we feel that it has enough justification to be recognized. And, you know, so we could do it a couple times a year or something.
Should be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, and so maybe there's a lot of people out there that do volunteer work. You know, so.
There's a lot of those
Oh,
that
yeah.
people don't absolutely.
And you know, like I'm on the forestry committee, you are too, Marty. Look at how much time the chairperson of the forestry and whatever, not the different clubs that they do with the snowmobile and stuff. Look how many hours they stick in, volunteer, they get, you know, and
So,
yeah. So but I think we should expand it so that if anybody, if they have someone in mind, to contact us, and then we view it. But I think the thing is, it's very important to contact the
So,
three of them.
okay, so we can contact the three and then
Yep.
see if they'd be willing, once we know what date. And then we'll get some background information on each one, and we can use a little of that bio.
We could play the videos.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I just wanted to add to this, that everybody has a heck of a time, everybody has a heck of a time finding volunteers to work with their programs, and recognition is one of the things that might help with that.
Yeah, and every community has people that step forward, and, we might try doing that, but I guess the thing is, well, when I brought this up to Dan is I just didn't want it to be just kind of blown over and just say, well, let's forget about it. We won't do nothing.
Well,
Yeah. So I could live with that.
Yeah.
In the category of off the top of my head, I wonder as we go through the comp plan update, George Bousset is chairing that, if we don't somehow find a way of developing a process to recognize people and groups on an annual basis and tie that program for recognition into how they help Ashland County make progress on the goals in the comp plan. So we've got all these different things in there. And arguably, everything that people are doing to make this a better county to live in ties into our comp plan. And we use that comp plan and what our vision is a way of saying, here's where we are, here's where we'd like to get to, and then use that as a way of saying who or what organizations are helping us to make progress that way. And I'm sure we could fit lots of volunteer stuff into all of those things that are in the comp plan, and that would give the comp plan maybe a little more visibility than otherwise, and maybe a little more legs than otherwise, so that once it's done, it's looked at a little more.
Okay. If nothing else, we need a motion to move in to closed session pursuant to 1985 1C.
Before you guys vote, I'd like permission for the sheriff to stay.
Yes,
And then Lori to stay to make sure other people don't get into the Zoom.
you're right.
And then Lori, as soon as the vote's taken, can you pause the recording?
Yes.
Or do you want us to just stop the recording completely?
If we pause it, it works better than stopping it. If you stop it, then you end up with two separate videos.
Because we can just adjourn in closed session.
Okay. I guess I would just pause it.
Okay.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Marty Vitek,
Um,
so
I need I can't hear somebody.
Oh, okay, Lori, there's a motion to go into closed session by Marty Vitek. And a second,
Second by Bill Metzinger.
Bill Metzinger seconds it. Roll call,
Gary Mertig,
yes.
Pat Kinney,
yes.
Bill Metzinger,
Yes.
Martin Vitek.
Yes.
Okay, give me one minute to pause this.
Okay, we are now in open session. Is there administrator updates?
I just got one quick one. The CDBG grant
Thanks, Sheriff.
has been fully executed as of yesterday. So we can hire Northwest Regional now.
For the planning committee,
So,
the $50,000 from the state.
yeah. And then there'll be a bunch of updates on Thursday I could give you a highlight of the budget. Worth, but,
No, I was just checking.
I'll just give you we'll go over this in, finance, but I'll give you a highlight. So, shared revenue is after they exempted some items from sales tax. We're looking at 3.4% next year and 2.1% increases the following year. Let's see, NACO was able to keep municipal bonds tax exempt. They're talking about taking that away. There are cuts to public health, nutrition, emergency response, rural development. They're putting additional burdens on HHS. There are supplemental Medicaid funding cuts to SNAP, especially to the 10 states that administer SNAP, Wisconsin being one. SNAP education, we're losing 2.5 people in extension as a result of that.
A year from now?
Starting in October 1. So the SNAP educators are done, and then 40% of Marissa's job is done.
The federal budget is October.
Yeah. So we're going to end up with an extension of just Lissa, Kate, and then Heidi, I think, is on a different grant. The rest of them were funded by SNAP. So their positions are no longer available after September 30th. Let's see. Medicaid, they're making a mandatory county contribution. And I have a whole bunch of stuff in the finance packet to go over. The long run is we're looking at 244 people in Ashland County are going to lose health insurance as a result of the cuts to Medicaid. That's also not counting the people who are going to be priced out of the Affordable Care Act marketplace because the subsidies to that went dramatically down. So we're going to probably see a giant caseload jump in HHS, which is going to force the county and the state to pay more. Luckily, the state did pass a provider tax before the federal budget, so that gave the state another $1.6 billion to pay for that.
Talking about 240 families or 240 people?
People.
People.
But people don't understand is people on Medicaid can go to a doctor at a hospital and Medicaid pays.
Mhm.
Those people no longer have Medicaid. They're still going to the doctor in the hospital. And you know who's going to pay that bill?
You and I.
Everybody else. This is a huge problem nationwide. You cannot just say, oh, we're taking people off of Medicaid and think we're solving this
Saving
problem.
money.
We're going to create a problem for our hospitals. And rural hospitals are the ones who are going to get hurt because
Right.
they don't have the funding available to keep going. Because you can't inundate the emergency rooms and things like that. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, there, right.
Right. And they're not going to get paid.
Yeah,
because
there is a
everybody
50,
on Medicaid has the income to pay.
right. There is a $50 billion rural hospitals fund, but we'll see how well that works. But yeah, what it's going to end up being, what happening is health insurance costs, premiums for private plans are going to go way up as a result of this because hospitals need to seek reimbursements for indigent care. That's on top of, because of how they did the budget, sequestration is going to kick in, which means $500 million cut to Medicare. So that means the Medicare program is going to lose money too as a result of all this. So that doesn't affect the county as much because hospitals accept Medicare and it's going to put a dent in the whole economy. Yeah.
And here's the problem that somebody in Washington doesn't understand about SNAP. Food share, SNAP, whatever you want to call it. That program relied on farmers growing food that people on SNAP purchased. So guess who's going to get hurt? The farmers. Because those programs aren't going to be funded anymore. And I don't know why Congress can't see beyond the end of the book because
The original reasons, that food stamps and that, the original deal was that farmers had surpluses and people were going hungry. They made a little trade-off there and everything worked fine for many.
So, well, I can tell you why, but I'll do it when the recording's not on. As far as the state budget goes, and I just went to the finance committee packet for this, so you can find all that information in finance committee. The state did fully fund the conservation program, so 100% of Mary Jo's job is covered, 70% of the second position, and 50% of the third position. So that's the best we've ever had. There's they also increased the sustainable forestry grants, which help pay Chris Hoffman's wages. Let's see.
Dan, is this stuff on our little things here?
Yep, it's on the finance committee website.
Oh,
So I'm just giving you, just so you know, I'm just doing a quick overview.
that way I don't have to write it down.
No. They increased maintenance for county roads, for state roads and counties. Increased GTA 3% for each year of the biennium. So that means they're giving us another 3% in transportation aid. They increased LRIP. They increased ag roads. So see, they increased veteran service awards. Doesn't mean much, but it's a few $100s for us still. They increased some of the payments for the court system, so that's good. There are $10 million in grants for Wiscom, which I think we're going to be applying to get Wiscom towers in the county. State Patrol's already put them in Bayfield County, and we need them in Ashland County too. They increased a bunch of funding for HHS. The most important, which let's see if it's in here, is if we had to send a kid to Lincoln Hills, they wanted to charge us $2,400 a day. Governor Evers struck the two out of that 2,400, so it's $400 a day. But it would have cost us literally $1 million a year to send a kid to Lincoln Hills. So we're hoping we don't send anybody, but as far as Ashland specific, I believe it's this one. The facility. So right here, they created a county aid program for counties that have a headquarters of a federally recognized tribe. And are giving us, there's 11 of them, so it's gonna be $183,000 a county, $2 million each year. They're doing $2 million each year, so we can expect $183,000, 26 and 27. So that's an additional aid that we're getting. So
And it can be used for general levy purposes.
it can be used for any purpose we want. So they did kind of help us out. They did not include money to make up taxes lost in Sanborn. So the town's not getting anything and the school district's not getting anything, but we are getting this 183 grand. So yeah, those are the main highlights. There's plenty of other stuff on the finance committee meeting that you're welcome to read.
Did you say they took away the exemption for income tax exemption on municipal interest? Did you say that?
No, they were planning on do that, and NACO got that preserved.
It's hard to believe that that would have passed.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
Again, I'll make my comments when we're not being recorded.
The bond market. I almost killed Trump as it was.
No, I mean, there's a whole group of investors that specifically buy those.
Yeah.
And it allows municipalities and counties to borrow for less than otherwise. That would be about as big a shoot in the foot as you could do.
Wow.
Other than that,
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I got one more thing I
Oh,
have.
okay.
Why don't you mention, Dan, about, we talked about the interpretive center and how we wrote the legislatures. Why don't you kind of give us an update on that?
there is really no update. No federal legislators responded. I have talked to Tiffany staff about the visitor center because the Forest Service is not playing well with their state partners. So I've been getting complaints from all the state employees. So I believe Tiffany's is trying to do something with the visitor center.
But he did their office did contact.
I
us.
I have talked to Jim Miller
Okay.
a lot.
I think that's important to bring up to the county board.
Yeah, and I did talk to Anna Ringstadt for Senator Baldwin.
Okay.
But yeah, I did point out to Tiffany that if he wants his national park, he needs to have a fully functioning visitor center. So
In regards to the space needs study with the changes that are going to occur with extension and then HHS adding a person and highway, I assume they'll fit them in somewhere there, so that they have updates on changes in staffing.
yeah,
And so as we look at,
space, the architects know about it. And we have some ideas that we can talk about at a later date. I think actually PPLA would be the first committee to go to with this. So,
and I assume HHS has plans for where they would locate a person,
right.
squeeze them in. Okay.
Yeah, they have plans and we have an outline of a plan for this building.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Bill to adjourn, a second. Pat seconds. All those in favor say aye. We are adjourned. Lori, can you cut this feed?
We didn't schedule it next.
Lori, can you, we don't have, it's,
Yep, give me